Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Al Exploring. My name is Alex, and I'm here in Pickaway County, Ohio, specifically Circleville. This is where we'll be starting our uh, Ohio historical marker tour of the entire Pickaway County. So let's get started at our very first Ohio historical marker here in Circleville. All right. So this is Circleville's Ted Lewis, numbered 465, placed here in 2001. There is a storm incoming, so we might have a delay at some point, but we'll do what we need to then. So let's start. As Circleville's most famous native son, Ted Lewis significantly contributed to his hometown, having performed in the first pumpkin show in 1903. Lewis continued to promote Circleville's trademark festival throughout his career. He returned to Circleville often and performed a successful benefit show here in 1952 with his wife Ada Becker Lewis, who lived from 1897 to 1981. He bought and donated the land for Ted Lewis Park and supported local Burger Hospital. The Ted Lewis Museum, dedicated in 1977, occupies the only remaining building that stood on Circleville's original circle. It interprets the life and career of, quote, the jazz king, unquote, and contains significant collections in the history of early 20th century American music. Ted and Ada Lewis are interred at Circleville's Forest Cemetery. So let's go on over to this side. This is Ted Lewis, 1890 to 1971. Is everybody happy? One of the outstanding American showmen of the 20th century, Ted Lewis was born Theodore Leopold Friedman in Circleville to a prominent business family. Stage-struck at an early age, Lewis began performing in cabarets, vaudeville shows, and nightclubs throughout Ohio at age 17 and moved to New York in 1915. Lewis began performing, Ted opened his own cabaret in 1918 with his animated stage persona, his clarinet, and his trademark cane and battered top hat. Lewis enjoyed a wide appeal with his jazz age audiences. His, quote, Me and My Shadow act exemplified his popularity during the 1920s, at which time he was the highest paid entertainer in the business. His career spanned over 6 decades from vaudeville to television. Lewis died in New York in 1971. So there you are. That's our first marker here in Circleville. It's starting to sprinkle, so let's make our way to our next stop. All right, we are at our next Ohio historical marker, but as you can see, it is currently raining. It's starting to slow down a bit, so we're going to have to wait to go on out to get to this one, but once we're able to, bring you along. All right, so I have the umbrella out. We're going to read this historical marker here in Circleville. The Squaring of Circleville, numbered 365. The Squaring of Circleville. By the middle of 1830s, dissatisfaction arose with Circleville's unique radial concentric street layout. The Circleville Squaring Company, authorized by the State Assembly in 1837, undertook to convert the peculiar town plan into a conventional grid, and by 1856 had completed this work in several phases. Circleville occupies a unique place in the history of American town planning, not only as a subsequent development of Native American engineering, but also as the earliest known example of urban redevelopment in the United States. That's pretty cool. That's placed here in 2002. And then here we also have the prehistoric Circular Earthworks. Established as the county seat of Pickaway County in 1810, Circleville derives its name from the circular portion of a large Hopewell era earthwork upon which it was built. Circleville Earthwork, described in 1772 by Reverend David Jones for a Boston magazine, comprised an 1,100-foot diameter circle connected to a 900-foot square. Town director Daniel Driesbach plotted the town directly atop the earthworks, integrating the town plan into the prehistoric landscape. An octagonal courthouse stood directly in the center. So as you can see, they have the layout there. And on the other side, they have what it would have looked like in 1836. Pretty cool. Let's move on to our next stop here in Circleville. All right, we are here at our next Ohio historical marker in Circleville. Pardon the noise, but we're right on Court Street here in the downtown area. This one is number 965 for Caleb Atwater. Born in North Adams, Massachusetts on December 23rd, 1770. 1814 as a All right, so we are here at our next historical marker spot. We are at Zieger House. On this site stood the Zieger House, in which the first session of court in Circleville was held on April 26, 1811. This session is continuing until April 1814. First meetings of Pickaway Lodge number 23 free and accepted Masons were held here, beginning April 26, 1813, and continuing until 1825. This is numbered 165. And it's the same on this side, so we're going to head on back to our to the car and find the next stop. This is Zieger House in Circleville, Pickaway, Ohio. All right. We are at this marathon station, which is where we're going to find Our next Ohio historical marker, right next door, right where the VFW post is, Camp Circleville. 114th Ohio Volunteer Infantry. Across the road was the site of Camp Circleville, where members of the 90th and 114th Ohio Volunteer Infantry were mustered into service during the Civil War. Pickaway Township farmer Jacob Ludwig donated the land for the camp, which was then approximately 2 miles south of Circleville at the southwest corner of Kingston Pike and the Circleville Tarleton Road. The 145th Ohio Volunteer Infantry was mustered into service on September 11th, 1862, to serve for 3 years. The regiment participated in General Ulysses S. Grant's assault against Vicksburg, Mississippi, and in the siege of the city, which was the last Confederate stronghold on the Mississippi River. Vicksburg fell on July 4th, 1863. In August, the 114th was transferred to Louisiana and Texas, thence to Florida after January 1865, and then back to Texas. Following the end of hostilities, the unit was mustered out of service in July 1865. During its service, the 114th Ohio Volunteer Infantry lost 3 officers and 36 enlisted men killed or mortally wounded, and 5 other officers and 270 men to disease. So right across the street here, this is about the 90th OVI. Across the road was the site, I believe. Yeah. Across the road was the site of Camp Circleville, where members of the 90th OVI were mustered into service during the Civil War. Yada yada. It's the same thing up until the 90th OVI was mustered into service on August 29th, 1862, to serve for 3 years. The unit saw action during some of the war's well-known Western battles, including those at Perrysville, Kentucky in October 1862, Stones River, Tennessee on December 31st, 1862 to January 2nd, 1863, and Chickamauga, Georgia in September 1863. Later, the 90th joined in General William Tecumseh Sherman's march through Georgia in the spring and summer of 1864, and later that year was part of the Union force that fought in the Battle of Franklin and Nashville, Tennessee. At war's end, the unit was mustered out of service at Camp Dennison near Cincinnati in June 1865. During the regiment's service, 5 officers and 247 enlisted men were killed, mortally wounded, or died from disease. So there you are. Camp Circleville. It's just now a field, but was a Civil War unit grounds just about 170 years ago. Let's head on to our next stop here in Pickaway County. All right, we are here at our next Ohio historical marker titled Treaty of Camp Charlotte. In an effort to maintain peace with Native Americans, the British imposed the Proclamation Line of 1763, which prohibited colonial settlement west of the Appalachian Mountains. Some settlers did not recognize British authority and continued to move westward. Virginia Governor Lord Dunmore realizing that peace with Native Americans was improbable, amassed troops and headed west, camping at the Hocking River to meet with a unit commanded by Andrew Lewis. En route, Lewis's troops were attacked on October 10th, 1774, at present-day Point Pleasant, West Virginia, by a force of Delaware and Shawnee, led by Cornstalk. After intense battles, the Native Americans retreated north across the Ohio River to villages on the Pickaway Plains. At this point, Dunmore headed to Shawnee villages to negotiate peace and set up camp at this site. The resulting Treaty of Camp Charlotte ended, quote, Dunmore's War, unquote, and stipulated that the Indians give up rights to land south of the Ohio River and allow boats to travel on the river undisturbed. The Treaty of Camp Charlotte established the Ohio River as Virginia's boundary line, aiding in the settlement of Kentucky. And then we have this marker that was erected by the Pickaway Plains chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution in 1928. Near this spot, the famous treaty was made between Lord Dunmore, governor of Virginia, and Chief Cornstalk of the Shawnees and allied tribes in October 1774. This camp was named Charlotte after the Queen of England. So right here on at this intersection, or not intersection, but on this farmland here, have Treaty of Camp Charlotte, number 665. All right. Well, let's move on to our next stop here in Pickaway County. All right, so we are now at Tarleton, Ohio, for marker number 1165. We're still in Ohio, but we have some Amish in Tarleton. This is for Major General William Suey Smith. Major General William Suey Smith was born in Tarleton on July 22nd, 1830. He attended Ohio University and supported himself throughout his college undergraduate career, graduating in 1849. He then entered the United States Military Academy at West Point to pursue engineering and graduated sixth in the class of 1853. In 1857, Smith established a private engineering firm, Parkington and Smith, and made the first surveys for the International Bridge across the Niagara River near Niagara Falls. At the outbreak of the Civil War, Smith joined the 13th Ohio Infantry, winning the commission of colonel in June 1861. After early victories in Western Virginia, he was promoted to brigadier general in April 1862 for his gallant and meritorious service at the Battle of Shiloh. After brilliant service in the Vicksburg campaign, Smith was promoted to Major General because became Chief of Cavalry for the Department of Tennessee and later the Military Division of Mississippi, working under both General Ulysses S. Grant and General William T. Sherman. Following a controversial defeat at the hand of the Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest at Oklahoma, Mississippi, Smith left military service to re-establish his engineering firm. He became an internationally known expert on bridges and foundations. In 1867, he sank the first pneumatic station in building the Waugatashanie Lighthouse at the Straits of Mackinac and built the first all-steel bridge constructed over the Missouri River at Glasgow, Missouri. He was awarded the American Centennial Exposition Prize in 1876 for his bridge designs. He retired to Medford, Oregon, dying there in 1916. Yeah, this is all here. Beautiful cherry blossom there, but yeah. Let's move on to our next Pickaway County historical marker. All right, we are here at Logan Elm State Memorial. Chief Logan here, 1065. Tagajut, the Mingo chief named Logan, was a native of Pennsylvania. Logan moved to Ohio in 1770 and settled at the Pickaway Plains. Logan and his father, Shikalimus, had long supported friendships between Native Americans and white men. However, in the spring of 1774, his tribesmen and family were murdered at Yellow Creek, along the Ohio River. Once an advocate of peace, Logan went on a warpath and raided frontier settlements. These and similar raids along the Ohio frontier precipitated Lord Dunmore's War in October 1774. After the Shawnee and their allies were defeated at Point Pleasant, Virginia, Governor Lord Dunmore marched up the Hocking River to the Pickaway Plains. Dunmore asked his interpreter, Colonel John Gibson, to assist in negotiations with Cornstalk and other Indian leaders, including Logan. Logan declined to attend the conference but spoke to Gibson about his anger and betrayal. And on the backside, this is about Logan Elm. It was here, under a large elm tree, that Chief Logan was said to have discovered his powerful speech on Indian-white relations, which Gibson delivered to Lord Dunmore at Camp Charlotte. Logan's lamentation was printed widely and appeared in newspapers in New York, Philadelphia, and Williamsburg in 1775. The speech is inscribed on Chief Logan's monument, worded as it was related to President Thomas Jefferson, once considered to be one of the largest elms in the United States. A 65-foot tall elm died in 1964 after being stricken with blight and damaged by storms. Through the efforts of the Ohio History Day Association, this location was dedicated as Logan Elm Park. The Ohio Historical Society currently operates the Logan Elm State Memorial. The Historical Society is the now the Ohio History Connection. So here we have Non-Halema. We'll have to come back to this site to explore the whole thing, because this is a nice little park here in the middle of the Pickaway Plains, as it's said. Won't go into too much detail, but I want to take a look at this. This statue of sorts, which has Logan's speech, which that is what the historical marker there says. And you can see Logan Elm, height of tree 104 feet, circumference of body 23 feet. And then here Here we go. This is Logan Elm. All right, I think we have one or two more Ohio historical markers left. So let's go and let's go check those out. All right, we are here in Pickaway County. This is our second to last marker, but beautiful scene here of the landscape of Pickaway County. But we have number 765 here in Pickaway County, Cornstalk Town. Cornstalk Town was located on the north bank of Skippo Creek, directly north of here. Cornstalk had a commanding appearance and was known for his intellect and oration skills, as Chief Cornstalk led the Shawnees during Dunmore's War. At the Battle of Point Pleasant, Virginia on October 10, 1774. The Shawnee retreated and, to avoid destruction of their villages on the Pickaway Plains, agreed to peace terms by the Treaty of Camp Charlotte. While Cornstalk abided by the treaty, some Shawnee continued to attack white settlements. In 1777, Cornstalk traveled to the American post of Fort Randolph to discuss the rising alliance between the Shawnee and the British and the threat to settlements in Virginia and Kentucky. As retaliation for a murder by an Indian raiding party chief, Cornstalk and his son Alanisco were killed while at Fort Randolph, which is Point Pleasant now. And then this side is the Grenadier Squaw Village. It was located between this area and Skippo Creek upon the Pickaway Plains, the primary Shawnee settlement in Ohio. Nanhalema, born circa 1722, was the sister of the Shawnee Cornstalk and Silver Heels. Known as Grenadier Squaw because of her imposing stature, she spoke 4 languages, serving as peacemaker and interpreter. After the peace treaty with Lord Dunmore in 1774, and in spite of Cornstalk's murder, she remained allied with the Americans. On October 1st, 1978, Nanhalema was honored with a marker in Logan Elm Park near those for Chief Cornstalk and Chief Logan. The burning ground used as a site to burn captured prisoners at the stake was located on the elevated hill just south of Grenadier Squaw's village, which would probably be around here. The council house was located slightly to the northwest. Just take that sunset in. Absolutely gorgeous on all sides of us. All right, we have one more stop here in Pickaway County, and we'll wrap things up. Head back to our car down this hill. All right, we made it to our last stop here in Williamsport, Ohio. Make sure if you like this video, to like it, comment on it in the comment section below, and subscribe and hit that notification button so then we can help support local history YouTube channels like myself. So let's get looking at this final historical marker here in Williamsport, Ohio, in Pickaway County. All right, so Williamsport and Deer Creek Township. Development occurred rapidly in this area. In 1803, the first school was built in Deer Creek Township in 1810, the Christian Church in 1812, Baker Mill in 1813, Yates Mill in 1816, a post office, and in 1826, the Deer Creek Methodist Circuit class was organized. Williamsport incorporated in 1842. A separate village school system was established in 1874, and a high school operated from 1891 to 1964. A weekly newspaper was published from 1889 to 1979. From 1903 to 1929, theatrical companies featuring, quote, Uncle Tom's Cabin toured from Williamsport. So this is number 265. Placed in 91, and then we have the Deer Creek Frontier. In 1772-73, missionary David Jones visited Blue Jackets Town, a settlement of 12 cabins downstream on the east bank, and Pickaway and Shawnee Town, a Shawnee town on the west bank. Deer Creek Methodist Circuit Deacon Dr. Edward Tiffin met settlers after 1798. Dr. Tiffin was later elected the first governor of Ohio. A station of Virginia bounty land settlers, quote, Williamstown, assembled here around 1797. Mill sites established before Pickaway County flourished in the dense oak forest of Deer Creek Township. Frontier hotels in Williamsport prospered due to the, quote, healthful sulfur springs. All right. Thanks for coming along with us on this tour of Pickaway County. Until next time, make sure you explore local history. It's in your backyard, so get out, get your next adventure started.